In this video, we're going to be breaking down what TDEE, BMR, NEAT, TEF, and EET, and WTF, all these different acronyms mean and how they affect your metabolism, your nutrition, and your training. And if you guys are new here, I'm Dr. Ben. I'm a doctor of physical therapy, NSCA certified strength conditioning specialist, OCB natural pro, and nutritionist. And I make videos like this twice a week. So if you guys are new here, subscribe and don't miss a video. The first thing we're going to cover is TDEE. This is your total daily energy expenditure. This is the amount of calories per day that you're burning. This is a combination of everything that I mentioned before, your BMR, your NEAT, your TEF, your EAT. We're going to go over those in just a moment. But this is the bigger picture. This is the amount of calories you're burning throughout the day. The next thing we're going to go over is your BMR. This is your basal metabolic rate, also known as your resting metabolic rate or your resting energy expenditure. Your BMR is essentially how many calories you're burning at rest. So let's say you laid in bed all day. This is how many calories you'd burn just to keep the lights on. There are a few different ways to figure out what your BMR is. First way is going to be doing a BMR or an RMR test at a clinic. This is typically done using indirect calorimetry. The next way, and a little bit more practical method, is going to be using an equation. You can either use the Mifflin-St. Jean equation, which is the current gold standard, or the Harrison-Benedictine equation. The Mifflin-St. Jean equation does have an average prediction error rate of about 70 to 150 calories, so for most people it's pretty accurate, but it can range a little bit. The Mifflin-St. Jean equation listed here is going to be an equation that involves your age, your height, and your weight, so you can simply plug in those numbers and get your answers. The next thing we're going to go over is your NEAT, also known as NEAT, also known as your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This is how many calories you're burning throughout the day that's not quite exercise, but not quite you just doing nothing. So this is everything from fidgeting to opening up the fridge door to walking your dog to typing at the computer. All those things add up over the day. Your NEAT is usually the most adaptive part of your metabolism. When you have a lot of calories in, when you have a lot of energy, you tend to increase your NEAT subconsciously. When you diet for a prolonged period of time, this typically goes down over time because your body is trying to conserve energy. The next thing we're going to talk about is TEF. This is the thermic effect of food. We know that food has calories, but did you know that when you digest food, it also burns calories? Protein has the highest thermic effect of food, between 20 to 30%. Carbs is the second most, between 5 and 10%. And fats is the least, with 0 to 3%. The last one is going to be EAT. This is your exercise activity thermogenesis. I know you guys are waiting for this one. This is everyone's favorite one. On average, for strength training sessions, because most people watching this video are probably into strength training, you're going to burn about 0.1 calories per kilogram per minute that you exercise. So if you're 100 kilograms, you're going to burn about 600 calories in an hour-long session. Now, depending on the type of activity that you're doing, not all exercise burns calories at the same rate. Walking will burn less calories than sprinting, but different kinds of exercise have different physiological benefits. So for example, hypertrophy training is really good at gaining muscle. Walking is really good at zone 2 cardio. Sprinting is really good at zone 5 cardio. In general, the more intense your workout is, the more calories you're typically going to burn per minute. Now, if you add up your BMR, your NEAT, your TEF, and your EAT, this is going to equal your TDEE. The next question is, how do you calculate your TDEE? Well, it's relatively simple. You're going to take your BMR plus everything else. Typically, everything else, so your NEAT, your EAT, and your TEF are going to be relatively hard to track. Typically, what researchers, clinicians, and coaches are going to do is take your BMR and multiply it by an activity factor. This is going to give us a rough estimate on what your total daily energy expenditure is going to be. Now, you might be thinking, well, I have an Apple Watch, Whoop, Garmin, Fitbit, and this tells me how many calories I'm burning through exercise. However, this study right here shows us that those trackers aren't super accurate. And so even though they're going to give us a rough estimate, it's not going to be 100% on the money. So in order to calculate your total daily energy expenditure, you can either take your BMR, multiply by the activity factor to get a rough estimate. Or what you simply do is you can take your BMR plus an estimate of your NEAT, your TEF, and your exercise activity thermogenesis. For example, if you want to gain weight, you're going to typically eat above your total daily energy expenditure. If you want to lose weight, you'll simply eat lower than your total daily energy expenditure. Now, hopefully you guys find this video helpful. If you guys did, make sure to leave a like, leave a comment for what you guys want to see next, and I will see you guys in the next video.